For Cybercrime Radio, I'm Amanda Glassner, Deputy Editor at Cybercrime Magazine. I attended the 2026 RSA conference where we caught up with Gary Segal, Principal Sales Engineer at Mend.io. This episode is brought to you by Mend.io, the leading application security solution helping organizations reduce application risk effectively. To learn more about our sponsor, visit Mend.io. Welcome, Gary.
Welcome, Amanda.
So we're here today to talk about compliance without slowing devs. Manual controls don't scale in modern dev environments today. Can you give us a little bit of an overview on your opinion about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, manual controls are, 15, 20 years old. Used to be, with the amount of vulnerabilities that people could find in their code, you could run a scan, get a report, and think about it for a day or a week and fix them. But the volume of vulnerabilities, the volume of security risks, the attack profiles has grown exponentially pretty much year over year. So if developers are not using automated methods to detect risk and help them remediate it as quickly as possible, they can fall into the trap of they're not going to be able to keep up with it, and they're going to fall behind the curve. I mean, using spreadsheets, which I've seen people do in the past, just doesn't work anymore. It hasn't worked in probably a decade, and is a recipe for increasing security risk, not decreasing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of human error that can go into that. So how would you say we can balance the element of eliminating human error alongside embedding compliance into pipelines and automating where possible?
Yeah, I think that's actually the key points. You do need to embed the compliance and automate detection and remediation, where as developers are writing code, they're getting feedback as early in the process as possible. We hear it over and over again, shift left. It really is the way to do that, because if you can help a developer identify risk in the code that they're responsible for, whether it's AI generated or they wrote it themselves, while they're working on it, you're hitting them at the best time to work on it. Because if you come back to a developer a week, a month later and say, hey, that code you wrote last sprint, it's got these problems, they're already on to the next sprint, and they got to pull their mind back into what they were working on. Whereas if you can get to them while they're working on it, they're like, okay, I got to fix this, I got to remediate it. And then in addition, if you're telling them these are violating your corporate policies, that'll help them figure out what they need to work on, which ones are violating, which ones aren't. And if you can show them, here's a potential remediation, you've just shortened their time to get it, because not only did you tell them about the solution, you're potentially giving them a solution that they can start with and in many cases use.
So you got ahead of my second question a little bit, which was communicating to developers and how important that is. So what would you say is the one message you would tell people when it comes to communicating with developers and getting the important information across?
I think it's really important to communicate with developers in a language they speak. We talked a little bit earlier about spreadsheets. Developers don't speak spreadsheets.
Right.
Developers typically have a few places that they spend the majority of their time in. It can be an IDE, it can be a repository like a GitHub or an Azure DevOps or a GitLab or a Bitbucket, right? They're spending most of their day in there. Perhaps they have an issue tracker. Jira is one of the most popular ones that is also complementing their work where they're writing code. You need to meet developers in those places. If you ask them to go somewhere else, to a shared document or even a vendor's console dashboard like the one we have, many developers aren't that interested in it. You need to meet them where they are. It's an old saying, right? For many things in life, you want to meet people where they are. Developers are no different. And it's important that when you're looking at application security, AI security solutions, that you look at vendors who can do that, who can meet the developers where they are. And that varies though. Some organizations, developers will want to be met in one place, others in another, so you need to have flexible solutions as well.
Now, what about compliance requirements? Where do those come into the picture, and when should they be addressed?
I think they should be addressed as early as possible, because if they require developers to resolve them, the earlier you can get a developer while they are incubating the idea, I like to put it that way, right? While they're working on the code, or the more encouraged they're going to be. I like to say developers are generally grumpy. They can be a grumpy bunch. But if you can get them while they're writing their code, hey, what you just developed is going to have these compliance issues, they're going to be a lot less grumpy than if you come back to them in a month to 6 months and say, oh, by the way, you violated our policy, our compliance requirement around, no critical CVEs, or writing things with SQL injections. And if you can tell them that while they're doing it, they're going to go, yeah, all right, I got to go fix it, but at least you've got them at the right time. So a solution that lets you set those requirements and automate the identification of them and get it to the developer at the appropriate time is very important.
Thank you so much, Gary. Before we go, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think I'm good.
Perfect. All right, so for Cybercrime Radio, I'm Amanda Glassner, Deputy Editor at Cybercrime Magazine, and we are here with Gary Segal from Mend.io at RSA 2026. To learn more about our sponsor, visit Mend.io.